What's up, blood-sucking gamers?
Yo.
How you guys doing out there?
What's up, guys?
Chilling.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. We're going to do what we are about to be doing every week. Blood-sucking gamer news, technically. We're also going to be talking about what is going on with gaming. And we're trying to do it within a half an hour. Hopefully you can eat dinner after this. Or hopefully you're listening to while you eat dinner. But if you're really into us, you should follow us and listen when you're playing games. Because it's the best time to listen
We're
to us,
going to
right?
talk about so many topics in such a small time. It's going to go by so fast.
Hell yeah. All right. So, talking right now, first introduction.
Wiz at Bloodsucking Gamers. I played Smash for a while, still love Smash, but not as into the online scene. I really enjoy the in-person experience. I play Banjo, some NES. Like, I played NES before Banjo. Still love NES. Yeah, I'm getting into Smite. I've been doing player relations for Bloodsucking Gamers, so there's that. That's been really fun. Yeah, and it's been a good time.
All right. And tell them what game you're playing besides Smite right now. Or you're
I play a lot of Monster Hunter.
nice.
Well, I haven't been playing a lot, but I'm probably gonna play tonight and like other stuff. So
And what's your gamer tag?
the actual tag in Monster Hunter is Wiz, but you should probably add me by my like PlayStation ID or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Which is
PSN.
D Geldner, DGELDNER 2233.
Nice. And on this side, we got
Deo. Henny Deo. Henny Deo 215. Most Wanted Deo.
nice.
All of those on PlayStation Network. Anybody want smoke on 2K? Put up 50. Well, I'm not hearing it. Put up 50. Or a bean.
Yeah. And also, when you guys are hearing this right now, we're announcing that we're doing Who Runs Philly 2K tournament. We're sponsoring it. It's going to be on October 21st. Don't quote me with that because we're about to do the actual dates, but we're coming up real soon. So if you're interested, follow us at Bloodsucking Gamers on IG, Twitter. It's all Bloodsucking Gamer. All right.
Yep.
So first topic of the day. He just said your favorite game was Monster Hunter. We all know Final Stand came out the last season, the final update. We know Fatalis is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fatalis is
Exciting.
definitely coming. And we were already talking about what characters we wanted before the announcement was, but since the announcement was already released,
Right.
we still had some ideas, so we figured we'd go with them. If you could pick a monster to fight in Monster Hunter, and I'm literally saying any monster now.
Yeah, not like a monster.
Because before we was like Fatalis, whatever, but now we know every monster
Because
exists.
the truth is,
so.
Fatalis was one of the only ones that wasn't already in the game that I really know much about.
Yeah.
So like, if we could talk about Gore Magala, but like, I'm not gonna know that much about. So like, we may as well talk about someone like King Kong or Godzilla, or like
Exactly.
someone that everyone knows, right?
Yeah. So,
So what? You want to go first, or should I go first?
you introduced it. Go ahead.
I could say like King Kong and Godzilla are both good. What monsters do I? Let's think about this for a second.
Okay. While you're thinking about
Yeah,
it,
let's think about it.
I
Yeah.
know what I'm gonna
Okay.
play. So if I had to pick any monster to play in Monster Hunter, now bear with me. Don't kill me.
Yeah, no, start. Yeah, say it. What?
Does it matter if it has to be alien or can it be just like
No, it could be anything.
any monster?
Yeah.
Can I beat up the little thing from Mac and Me? Like, do you remember Mac and Me? That old E.T. movie? All right. There's basically a E.T. movie, and I'd say I beat up
Oh
E.T.
my
That's
God.
basically where I'm getting at. Because that means there's hundreds of them.
Hell no.
But
Yeah.
why would that be a fun monster? To fight?
Because he actually has hidden powers we don't know
Okay.
about.
Okay.
I already know E.T. has hidden powers. And it's like almost kind of giving more legacy to his character. That's how I look at it. Like, so, the finger does one thing, the phone home thing.
Yeah.
But he can heal things.
Okay.
He definitely can call things. He can make
Oh,
things
he would have
fly.
like
He could-
minions.
Well, yeah, he has
Yeah.
telepathy. Like, there's a
Okay.
bunch of stuff to him that we don't talk about. So I want to beat the shit out of E.T. basically. But I would go with Mac and Me just because I also hate that McDonald's movie. But
It's a
who would
Mick,
you-
it's a Mick movie. It's Mick E.T.
oh, man.
So, oh man.
You still don't know who you beat up.
I feel like
You could fight any monster. Any monster. Because I don't want to pick King Kong and Godzilla.
No, like, can I like take their parts and like take?
Yeah,
their-
That's exactly
that's
what
what
you
I'm
do,
going
yeah.
for.
It's
That's what I said.
Oh,
Telepathy,
shit.
the finger.
It's easy then. I'm fighting Predator.
Oh, nice. That's a good call.
I'm taking everything he has.
You could
If I
probably
can beat him.
You could probably really fight Predator. That'd be a good one.
If I can. He
That would
probably
be really cool.
destroy me.
That would actually.
Y'all
Now
could
I'm
be
tempted
Predator.
to
I would
say
get
a
destroyed.
Xenomorph. That would actually be really cool. Let's think about horror monsters. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with a monster you might not have thought because this monster appears human, and that's what's so scary. Dracula.
I could see that. He could turn into a vampire bat.
He is a monster. He can
Yeah,
turn into
he's a
basically
monster.
whatever he wants.
He's a monster.
He eats people.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
does. He's definitely a monster.
Can't tell me Dracula's the king of monsters.
He's up there. Yeah, he's definitely the beginning of it.
Honorable mention: werewolf, Frankenstein's monster.
Technically, the universal monster.
Yeah, like universal monsters would be really cool in Monster Hunter.
I would still kill
Yeah.
E.T.
That's cool.
He's a monster. Man.
Yeah.
He fucked that family up.
He ruined their childhood. They'll never know anything as
That's
cool as that again.
emotional distress.
Yeah.
He has telepathy and he has a finger. I don't trust that. All right. So moving on. Speaking of like ancient things, Black Myth Wukong. We saw the second trailer for that. Well, not second trailer. More. They said it was gameplay that happened in China, and that's what we got to see through IGN. But basically, we were talking about other ancient games we'd like to see. Because after seeing this, I realized that there's a lot of ancient
Games
things.
based off really old stories.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
ancient myths.
Ancient myth, really old myths that could be based in truth but don't have to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Who wants?
Um.
You guys go first because I think mine's gonna be a little longer.
Okay. Well, when you're talking about ancient myths, I know kind of where you're going with it, but
Go over what
honestly I was thinking about this when we started talking about it last week, and there's one place that nobody ever really knows much about, and technically, if you found even just a hint of an ancient myth about it, you could create something magical, and I would think that would be like the Aborigines from Australia. Their
Okay.
myths, their stuff, like especially because they have weapons that there were horns. Like we already know that they would use horns as weapons. They definitely were people that used the desert terrain to their advantage, and they were, I don't know, they survived because they were thriving. But that's the thing, they were such a wiped out tribe that we only know minimal stuff about them, and I'm pretty sure they had some ancient myths that even today, if you went to Australia, they're still finding stuff that is buried. So I think like something like that would be pretty dope, like almost like a Mad Max, but from the far past instead of the future.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the way put it like that. That sounds really cool. Let me just think of like a few questions to kind of. Well, first, for people who are a little confused about what Black Myth Wukong is, it's a story based off like an old Chinese myth, Journey to the West, where Wukong like beats up gods and monsters and all that stuff, right? Simply put.
Yeah.
What do you think the closest thing in terms of visuals would be? Do you think like Moana? Do you think like Maui, like how Maui looks from Moana? Are they like tribal like that? Do they look more like
What
Native
are
Americans?
you talking about?
Like visual, like the
Australian.
style, like how would they be? The gear, how would the gear look? How would the buildings look?
I mean,
How would
all
the-
that we have to go off of is really how, like, they were really wiped out. They were wiped out,
Yeah,
like, really,
sadly.
like a long time ago. Like, even now, Aborigines face a lot of racism because
That are
they're so
left.
rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that are left,
Yeah.
they face racism, poverty, like, really similar to a lot of countries in East Africa. Like the Congo Republic, for example, like they face the same issues as them.
Yeah.
Where they pretty much being ostracized because they're so different, because they treated like subhuman still, almost like they enslaved in a way.
But
So,
that's,
like-
but what if that could be part of the story? Like
Oh
I'm
no,
talking
for
about.
sure.
Like,
But he's
something
saying like
that.
he's
Yeah.
saying like
Oh,
what would
so
their
go-
culture
so
be?
So answer your answer then. What mythology would you like to see?
I want to see Egyptian mythology, and West African mythology, like Mansa Musa. I want to
Yeah.
see
Oh,
like
okay.
like that. I remember we were talking about it before, and
And
I was
mix
trying
it
to
in
think
with-
of the empire, the Musa Empire.
Okay.
His empire was one of the biggest empires of all time over any kingdom
Wow.
of any point of
Yeah.
history ever, but it's rarely talked about. Like, he was conquering things that even like Alexander the Great wasn't conquering.
Really?
He was conquering lands
Because he
in
was the
Europe.
richest.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was the richest. ever.
Exactly.
But what you just said, I would also mix that with like stories like Anazi and like all of those ancient, like the spider that basically changed the world in Africa and all that stuff. Like those ancient African tales mixed in with the Mansa Musa stuff. So like almost like him traveling and ended up meeting the gods in between the African gods, something like that. That'd be dope.
Exactly.
That'd be dope.
Or even like Horus versus Set.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like they'd be the main gods basically.
Right.
You could definitely do the greater African region and do. I think honestly, Horus versus Set has its own like enough for a whole game. Mm-hmm. And then you could do the whole like West African thing totally on its own. Like I think there's enough there for tons of games, and like you don't need to like you could lump it together, and that would honestly make.
Well, I was thinking
obviously make an awesome game.
I was thinking the whole travel.
Yeah, like you travel.
Traveling.
Yeah, like how Kratos has now gone into the Norse mythology, stuff like that. But like I wouldn't limit it to like
all of it.
Basically, what you're saying would take a lot. It would take a lot of game, but that's
Right.
good. There's a lot. That means that there's a lot like there.
Yeah.
But and I want to bring up that what I'm about to say is also people that were like are traditionally dark skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're Asian, which is like for some people kind of confusing that they're like both 100% Asians and 100% like Africans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But India. So like in India, there's this story of the god, or basically he's called the demon king Ravana. Mm-hmm. It's unclear where he got his powers, if he like is an actual literal demon or if he just like became really powerful through. He studied like basically the at the time equivalent of like chi powers. It was called prana, and like martial arts and like all the different types of scholarly stuff. He was a king of Lanka, which is like Sri Lanka, right? Mm-hmm. And basically he prayed to Brahma for 11,000 years, and Brahma made him invincible to everything that could challenge him, which at the time was basically everything except humans. Mm-hmm. Okay, so everything except humans now couldn't hurt Ravana, who was this demon king of Lanka. And basically what happens is now that Ravana... he did all this good, he worshipped and stuff, but now that he had these powers, he does get more powers. He gets a sword from Shiva, stuff like that. But like now that he has these powers, he's not that he was ever perfect, but he's like really corrupt, and he starts taking over like the greater Indian area, like that whole region. He starts threatening that whole region, and so what the gods are kind of confused. They're like, okay, like. Brahma's really extremely powerful. Brahma's the creator god, right? And so if Brahma makes you immune to gods, like there's not much we can do about it. We can't make a demon because that can't hurt him either. And like beasts can't hurt him, nothing can hurt him. But a human can hurt him. But the problem was a human isn't... I'm getting to the cool part, right? The problem was a human isn't good enough. Like there was no human that was strong enough to face him. Yeah. So the god Vishnu, in all this god's wisdom, so Vishnu actually incarnates himself as a baby and actually goes through the whole cycle of physical carnal life, which in the Indian mythology, that's everything that you want to escape, right? Like you want to be in the realm of heaven, gods. You don't want to be in the fleshy realm because that means you can get hurt. It means that you're a slave to pleasure and you're a slave to pain, and like you don't want that, right? But he chooses to come to this realm to be as disciplined as anyone has ever been, practice all different types, like basically how I said Ravana trained. He trained, more studiously than anyone's ever done, especially in the bow, and eventually actually shot and killed Ravana. But not only after like an epic like odyssey, if you will, of like, fighting a giant, fighting a demon, fighting like saving these people, marrying this person, and she gets kidnapped, and then he has all that cool stuff. And he's just a really ballin' hero. And then at the end of the day, in at least one of the tellings, he kind of just walks into the ocean, and like heaven's gates kind of just open up to him, and he just vanishes.
Well, that's how the game ends.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna lie, that would be a dope ass game though.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie.
Content to keep you like interested.
100%. I thank you, but at the same time, like Horus vs. Set would be its own awesome game.
Let's move on to the next topic, which Gotham Knights. The reason we brought up Gotham Knights is because him being a Monster Hunter fan and me also enjoying Monster Hunter, we realized that a 4 4-player game, 4-player co-op game is technically the best options for future gaming. Everything is online. If you're going to fight a monster, you know, except for Evolve, never play that game. But any other game, usually you want a team to join you. With the new Batman coming out, you get to play as 2 characters, they say. It's a 2-player co-op online system, but there are 4 characters that are introduced. You got Robin, you got Batgirl, you got Nightwing, and you got Red Hood. So if you have 4 characters in an open world online Batman game, why do you think they would limit it to 2?
I think they would limit it to 2, honestly, because I think it's easier to program. I think it's a lot more freeing when it comes to, like, okay, we only have to do combo, like a sort of, you know, if we're gonna do like combos, right, like where I hit him into you, then like we only have to do it for 2 people. We don't, like, I think that they want to make the game, the combat really, really deep, which may be a downfall because they want it to be so deep that it's like both an RPG and an action game.
Well, don't we have this issue right now with Avengers?
Yeah, right. I was actually watching Avengers, and I came to the conclusion that what it tried to do was a little too ambitious. It's not really the fault of the developers or anything like that. It's really just as simple as, like, it was a little ambitious in the first place to expect someone to be really happy with the Iron Man gameplay and really happy with Black Widow gameplay in the same game. Like
that, and also
it's
after
so
that,
vastly
but
different.
after you beat the game, it's just repeating the same shit over. And that's kind of how I'm looking at Gotham Knights. And the only reason I would enjoy doing that is like Monster Hunter. I would want the 4 people that I played with to repeat it over with. I don't mind that. But if I'm playing with one other person and me and that other person are constantly playing the same board over and over and over and over, we're kind of going to get bored. We are going to level up. And the concept that I also was talking about was, if you're going to make a massively multiplayer online game, you know there's going to be DLC. You know they're going to make money afterwards. So either they're holding it to announce it later, which I'm crossing my fingers and praying they're doing, or they're going to have a half-ass game because you're playing as one character. You're going to have to play as all 4 characters.
It's not massively multiplayer.
It's 4. That's what I'm
But
saying.
I know what
that's
you
the
mean.
problem.
Yeah.
It is. It's massively multiplayer, but servers bring it down to 4. Like, there's tons of servers that hold tons of people.
I see what you...
That's how I looked at it.
Okay.
But you're right. It's co-op, couch co-op. And I'm like, well, if you're going to do that, why would I need online? Why can't I? Why, if, like you just said, it's easier for the developers to make it. Well, why don't you just make it a couch co-op? Cut the whole online system altogether. That's the issue I have with that.
I actually, your point about the combat just made me think the reason why it could be 2 people is because what if they make it to where, like, the damage points are so high that you don't need 4 people. Like Monster Hunter, the damage points are so low, you need those 4 people all trying to work together and hit that monster at the same time, or it's gonna take fucking forever.
Yeah.
Like 2 people on Monster Hunter, you would, even with like great weapons, it would take so long.
True.
But if they do the combat to where it's so immersive and the damage is so high, like let's say it's like triple the damage of what it would be in Monster Hunter.
Well,
then you would only need 2 people.
That would
to
make
kill
sense only if the online was like they're talking about. So they said there's a couple different parts of Gotham that you can play in, and there's levels. So when I think of that, I'm thinking maybe this is like level 10, like almost like a Borderlands thing. Like this is level 10. These people are level 20. These people are level 30. You got to build your level up to fight these people. But then at the same time, if you're gonna do that, what do I gotta look at it a little bit more before I jump to a conclusion.
Yeah.
But why would I want to play as multiple people when you pick that one player, just max her out, and you felt like you accomplished the story? Now you have to play it as another character to do the same thing. It kind of starts taking away from the enjoyment.
I feel like it would be fun to play all the characters. I don't feel like it would be fun to have to level all the characters.
That's what I'm saying.
Or you don't get to
It
play.
reminds me of almost like Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Right.
Except, again, take the online out, add the 4 players. If you're going to do it, it's Marvel Ultimate Alliance to me. Except not straightforward. It's open world. And there's a lot of issues I have with that. But
I think the gameplay itself will be almost infinitely more in depth than Marvel Ultimate Alliance,
yeah.
and that's why I think that they're limiting so far.
I think it'd be
they're
more
limiting the number of players.
But that's what I mean. It's open world.
Right.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, whereas Marvel Ultimate Alliance was linear.
Yeah.
So they were already built into this.
But I'm talking about the actual, just the combat.
Yeah,
I think it'll be much more like I think it'll be more like Arkham than it will be like.
Yeah, but how many times, even with Arkham, how many times do you do the same move to the point where the reason you enjoyed it is to keep the combo going eventually, right? That's not what this is. You want to level your character up. You're not keeping a combo going, so you're probably only going to use a couple moves 2 or 3 times.
You're right, because it's more like a RPG.
Yeah.
It's like it sounds like a Dynasty Warriors almost kind of thing.
That's what I was getting at.
But the problem is that in Dynasty Warriors, again, it's a ton of characters, and it's 4 players at a time at least.
Do you remember the PS2 game? Either one of y'all. It was
Yes.
called Champions.
Champions.
Hold on one second. It was Champions like Realm of something. Hold on.
I think I know what you're talking
It was on PS2.
about. I remember Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, Dynasty Warriors.
It was Champions Return to Arms. This is the cover.
Oh shit! I seen that
You
cover. I
remember that
never
game?
played.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Gauntlet.
This
Yeah.
game was very similar to Dynasty Warriors, except for the way the damage worked. You only needed 2 people because the damage was a lot higher than it was in Dynasty Warriors.
But that's all relative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it depends when I would have to see the game, because I would have to know what the damage looks like. I would have to know like a bunch of different
My
things.
point about it being all
Well, I've seen
relative
the damage part,
is
so
the
I should
point.
say.
My
What's
point
the-
about it being all relative is that it's easily fixed. So like, let's say they
That's
make
true.
the whole game. Right. Let's say they make the entire game that like the numbers are set up for 2 people. A coder could fix that in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
2 seconds. Just change the one number, and now it fits 4
It's
player.
a great co-op.
Yeah.
Or it could.
And
or
now
they
it's
could
4
add
player.
4 players.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But
So it's
See,
not
where
really
does it go?
about. So it's
that's
not-
what I'm saying. I would have to see.
While
It's hard.
No,
yeah.
there is. I get what you're saying that like maybe it's kind of tweaked for 2 players, but
Right.
like in terms of the numbers, like the amount of health a boss has, you literally what Monster Hunter actually does is like the boss has less health when you're soloing, and then when more people come in, the boss has more health.
But you want to know the
Right.
difference between this and Monster Hunter? You're playing Monster Hunter to get the armor. You already
Yeah.
got the bad armor.
Yeah.
What is the point of me
Yeah.
constantly continually
That's
doing
I know,
this?
I know.
And that's what I'm saying.
Like,
So
you
they
need
have to
the
give me a
gadgets,
little
maybe?
bit more. It looks amazing, but it's like I could just play Batman. I would just like if I want to
Yeah.
be Batman, why would I want to be the Bat family doing
it does look really good.
this? Or DC Universe online.
Yeah. Or you might have to just face the fact that maybe it could just be a badly thought out game. It
Maybe.
could just be that simple.
I mean, we thought Avengers was going to be amazing, and look how that turned out.
Yeah,
and it's
we thought,
not
like-
hating on it. The
yeah.
game itself and the story is good, but once
Yeah.
you beat it, the fuck.
Some developers just fail on execution, and that's just the hard reality. Like
Yeah.
you get
But whoa, this goes back to the topic. I'm not going to bring this up. I had this topic in one of my streams. Game developers putting out games that aren't the game they're trying to sell,
Right.
and then 2 years later, the game becomes the game they're trying to sell.
Right.
So what is the purpose
but
of
it
me?
lost traction.
Yeah, what is the purpose
Yeah.
of me even
Buying
like-
it when it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things with this game that they're showing me, and it's taking me further away from it. Instead of me being like, "Oh, this is gonna be shit," it's like now I don't.
Yeah.
I'm starting to like
You can wait on it.
stray now.
Yeah.
Like I don't care no more. Sorry. Getting back to that, we were talking recently. I guess since we're talking about Batman, a lot of movie tie-in games used to come out, and they don't come out anymore. And what we were talking about is, Spider-Man, Shadows of Mordor, the Lord of the Rings game. We were talking about, there was another game we were talking about. But anyway, instead of doing movie tie-ins, every video game company has been doing their own original ideas for movies. Or movie, like not movie games, Spider-Man's a comic book, Lord of the Rings is a book, but originally they aimed at the
Yeah,
movie
I know what
audience.
you mean. Like Shadow of Mordor or Spider-Man were their own stories. They weren't
Yeah.
movie.
A
titles,
good
yeah.
example is they just announced Scott Pilgrim. Thank God, 10th anniversary. That's such a great game, but when the game came out, nobody talked about it because it looked
It
like
had no-
it looked like the manga,
right.
And now they're like, "Yo, this is one of the best brawlers that I've ever played," and they took
Yeah.
it, so they brought it back out. So another example of a movie, but following the movie, but the game being its own thing. So with the movies that exist today, what do we think would be a good game, but original? Not the movie, but the characters.
Like take a movie
Take
and
the
say
movie's characters.
they reimagine it entirely as a.
Well, you could reimagine it, or you could just do your story the way you would like to do it. I mean, that's a reimagining, but actually do it what they did, but differently. Like
You know
all
what
the
I
same
want to
things.
see? I want to see, like, as weird as it could go either way. It could be a great game, or it could be extremely free. It could be really boring.
Mhm.
But if somebody were to like find a cool way to remake Interstellar,
Wow.
to touch like on that fourth dimensional type of shit, like
Yeah.
it was this one game that touched on the fourth dimension. It was in a AAA game though. It was like I honestly can't remember what it was called. It was like free on Xbox Live like 3 years ago. But it touched on the fourth dimension, and you were just literally on dimensional planes jumping around. And it was a really simple game. But if somebody were to take like the storyline of Interstellar and make it like Last of Us almost, like
that does sound
Last
really
of Us type of thing where you like almost watching a movie where you just sit back on your couch and you just like feel like you watching like a movie or something like that.
Yo,
I feel like that would be dope as hell.
This isn't what I would pick, but I'm gonna say this. You said Interstellar. I would say Tenet would be an amazing.
The one you just saw?
Yeah, it'd be an amazing video game movie, but I don't want to talk about why. Everybody wants to go see it. Come back and comment
we'll
tell
talk about
tell
that
me what
after
y'all
this.
thought about that being a video game movie.
After we all see it, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I didn't even see it yet.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But
you go. Do yours.
If I had to pick a movie to turn into a video game, see, you don't have any? Right
Yeah,
now?
I do.
All right, do it real fast.
Justice League.
Justice League?
Yeah.
Justice League, as in what would make it different than the ones that already exist?
So
like Zack Snyder's Justice
think
League.
of an Avengers game, like how Avengers the game is, where you play as each character. But no offense to Avengers game, basically just make it like, obviously it's my dream game, right? So like better, right? Like you really make everything work. Okay, so like a few ideas are like Flash, his entire. I've had this idea. Like, I think it would be cool to do. Let's go with just a Flash game, and I'll tell you why I think just a Flash game would be cool. So I think it would be cool where you're playing a Flash game and like, you do a cutscene, you're going crazy fast, and then everything kind of just stops around you, and you start moving around at like normal speed, and you realize that you are moving at such a fast speed that everything looks like it's standing still. And you play the whole rest of the game, basically, you're moving really fast, but like it feels like you're moving maybe, like 100 miles per hour, but because everything else around you is slowed down, you're really moving like 1 trillion miles per hour. Does that make sense? So it's all relative. So like you play the game, the entire like maybe it's a 100-hour game, takes place in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like you versus Zoom, and maybe you and Zoom and like a few other speedsters are like the only actual characters that really have lines, because everyone else is like, like completely.
So you
can't even hear them; they're so slowed down.
Like, in gameplay, but in the
so like you could have a whole fight like where, let's say Superman in this universe is like fast, but like not really compared. Like he can move like 1,000,000 miles per hour, but Flash can move like 1 trillion miles per hour or something, like something ridiculous. So let's say like, so Superman's like kind of slow compared to him. Even Superman would be going like, he'd be walking like relatively slow,
right?
And you'd be moving circles around. So you could have whole fights where you're like running on water, you're running up mountains, and like you're going everywhere, and basically nothing really happened. Like in like to everyone else, all they saw, like you're doing all the stuff around other people, but maybe at the end of that would be actually really cool. At the end of the game, it goes back to the beginning and shows you how everything really happened, and it literally just goes boom, and that's it. Like everything you did was just zoop, and it's over.
Yeah, time jump.
That would be crazy.
Well, it's not time jump. It's just relative. Like it shows it's relativity, basically. Like
in our
relative
world,
to
us playing the game.
Yeah, like relative to the Flash, it was like 10 hours, but relative to you, it literally just you saw blur and it's over.
Yeah,
like, that would be sick.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
So I have one that is really going to appeal to the nerds, but the thing is, it's a TV show. But the thing about it is, it's definitely movies.
Yeah,
But it's one of those things that has movies, but it's a TV show. And I would love to play this from the beginning, and everybody's like, what is it? All right, nerdy, neither of you probably know what I'm going to be talking about in a second. But I would go with Doctor Who.
I know Doctor Who.
No, all of Doctor Who.
I know. I've not watched every episode, but I really know Doctor Who.
I would go from the first Doctor
to
where we are now, and actually be able to pick Doctor Generations, but then actually have to connect all of them.
But again, this is not a remake of the show. This is a reimagining.
That's what the reimagining is.
Okay,
you have to connect all of them, because that is kind of how the show is, but it's in its own little bubble. But how they are connected, how this doctor is connected in this way, like you passing each other.
That
at
could
different
actually
timelines.
be really, really. I see. It's kind of similar to my idea. How it's you explore. My idea would explore the relativity of time, but yours would actually explore the travel between times.
Walking through
time,
space travel.
So all of us actually had a sort of dimensional aspect to it. Like mine
it's
was
all
about
time
how
travel.
like everything's relative and a whole dimension could exist like in a second, right? Yours was about like what about like beyond what we see and beyond like 3D, and then yours was literally like what if we what if we did
Completely
so we're
travel
all
to
talking about
Yeah.
sort of transcendence a little bit.
and but that's the thing with my game. If I was going to make it, it's literally you could pick any doctor, but you have to follow your doctor's timeline. But your doctor's timeline interferes with other doctors' timeline.
Oh, that's
And
yeah.
when you're interfering with other doctors' timelines, you change their
Throw
timeline.
off the
Yeah, that's why the doctor's kind of weird, because technically you kind of have to figure out which doctor is the doctor that actually finished it all, because we're just watching it linear, and I'm starting to notice like, all right, well, didn't this doctor travel to this same time, and then you realize, well, this doctor actually implanted this item so this doctor could use it. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it all
Like,
becomes
so
like
who
a
is
paradox
technically the
kinda,
final
yeah.
doctor to end the game, and that's
Okay.
how I look at it. Like, what, like almost like a telltale. Like you could follow it along a string, but you're gonna end up with multiple different endings.
Oh, cool, like a mystery.
A mystery, but also like it's Doctor Who. Like, you're in space, you're shooting monsters and fucking all types.
No, of course, but I mean, like at the root of it, there's a mystery as to what really is going on. Like you don't fully
Well,
understand.
that's you gotta watch Doctor Who.
I do. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I'm just saying, like
Yeah,
that's
like-
how your game would, because you're reimagining it.
Because
so.
sometimes you don't know you're looking for a mystery. Like,
Yeah.
even in Doctor, no spoilers.
I know what you
almost.
mean. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
some
yeah.
things they'd be like, holy shit.
Oh crap! Like I didn't even realize I
Yeah,
didn't
like-
know that. Yeah.
Like, who is Melody Pond? Like,
Yeah.
shit like that. All right, so we have a couple more minutes left, so we're about to wrap this up. Every week we're going to do a segment, Game of the Week, and games we look forward to coming out. With Game of the Week, we pick any game all time, doesn't matter, from Tetris to Cyberpunk. And then games we look forward to, games coming out in the future, and possible games that already exist we just never played. So, go. You got any?
I said, I know before, like a couple weeks ago, I was saying NBA 2K21 was a good game, and now I take that back. It's still dog shit. It's still every year since 2K17, 2K18 was a 1 out of 10. 2K19, I give it a 3 out of 10. 2K20 was a 0 out of 10. That was the worst video game.
They gave
Mike
it away.
Wang, if you ever hear this podcast ever in life, 2K20 is hands down the worst video game ever made of any genre.
It's worse than Shaq Fu.
The worst video game
I'd
you
rather
could
play
ever
Shaq Fu,
possibly
really?
make.
At
I
least
would
it's
rather
bad, but
play
fun.
I'd rather play 79 Tetris.
Oh no.
I'd rather play 1979 Tetris for 50 years straight before I ever play one more minute of 2K20 ever again in life.
You just reminded me of what I'm gonna pick. Actually,
What?
I didn't have my pick. I'm gonna. So we'll say what your actual pick is.
My actual pick is nothing because the state of video game sucks right now.
He's
I'm
actually-
looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077.
So
I'm
did
gonna-
you play
PS5 console.
Spider-Man? Did you play Insomniac?
No, those are
Spider-Man?
games that coming out. He's talking about he doesn't look forward to any of the
Oh
games.
no, I don't look forward to
talking
anything
about the
except
games
for
coming
PS5.
out.
What about of all time though? Like
Of
we're talking
all
about of all
time?
time. Yeah.
my favorite video game?
No,
of all time?
just a call out. Just shouts a game out
Oh,
from all time.
Um,
Anything you want. Like, what do you feel like shouting out right now?
you know what I feel like is really a really underrated game,
What?
but low key I feel like could have been better. L.A. Noire.
Yeah.
That
Okay, I heard
game
the
was-
ending is really
yeah.
crazy.
It kept my interest so much, but like I feel like it could have been done better. I feel like that's a game that if it was to be either remastered or if it was to make a part 2 of like a different storyline, like maybe do like Chicago crime instead of like LA crime and you a Chicago police officer or something like that,
That'd be dope.
or a private investigator in Chicago in like the 50s or 60s
Yo,
or something
that'd
like
be
that.
dope, like during the mobster.
Yeah,
era.
exactly.
That'd be dope.
But if they did it more like I feel like they could have went in a way more. It was kind of vague and it kind of got really linear. Like you was just kind of doing.
After
the
a
same
while, you kind of
fetch
knew where to
missions.
go, what to
Exactly.
do. And all, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I feel like it had a lot of potential for if they were to make a part 2, especially on PS5, since there's gonna be so much space to make a big game.
They might.
And go in depth.
I
could see that.
I want Bully.
All right,
but yes,
so-
LA Noire would be dope.
Bully 2, yeah.
Bully, is that your game?
Oh, go.
Okay, so my
That
game
doesn't exist.
is a game you should never, under any circumstances, play. It's called Polybius, and it was
what that
instated into arcades by just mysterious figures that we think were probably from the Soviet Union. And if you play this game,
You're gonna get
you
brainwashed.
will
Word?
get nightmares.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible nightmares.
I'm going
so
to play it.
I played maybe 30 seconds. Okay, I had a nightmare. Do not play this game.
I'm playing the game.
All right. When I tell
I
you
might
that
fuck around and
it
look
is
it
a
up right
it
now
is
and
a
see if it's
literal
online and play it
literal
right now.
attempt to hurt you.
I guess I'm just gonna get hurt.
All right.
I can't. I'm
He's gonna
too
attempt
curious. I got you.
So the idea was that with the you basically it almost looks like what's that game that was like you just fly a little like triangle spaceship and you shoot little
Asteroids.
Asteroid.
Yeah, asteroid. It looks kind of like asteroids, but with a lot more shapes going on that are kind
the
of
lights and
superfluid.
stuff. I've
And the
seen it.
lights will mess with your head.
So
Like,
next time on the podcast, how Grant is sleeping.
yeah.
Oh, we about to do this right now.
No, don't do it
No,
yet.
there's no
Wait till we're
time.
done.
There's no time. Kirk,
and
what's
then
your game?
So the worst game of all time. I'm already gonna tell you what is the worst game of all time. You didn't pick what game you're looking forward to, but I already know.
Oh, I thought you just meant a shout out in general. What game? I'm honestly looking forward to Black Myth Wukong more than any game I've ever looked for.
All right, we can move
quick.
on. We already
Yeah.
talked about
Quick
that.
one, quick one. The new Black Ops coming out. I completely forgot about that.
That
The
could
new
be-
Black Ops.
yeah.
That's actually something I am excited for. The
We
new
do
Black Ops
really
was
have
dope.
to hurry up, though. I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we got
and at the my worst game of all time. I'm gonna give you this right now. Is Rascal PlayStation.
Rascal?
Go look it up. It's called Rascal. It's a little kid with a hat and a purple shirt and a little ray gun. And I remember it was like, oh, this could be dope as a kid running around with a ray gun shooting stuff. Nope. Worst controls I've ever seen. Like literally, you start the game, you fall in water, and you land in a bubble. And then when you're in this bubble, you have to get out the bubble. And I'm like, I don't get the fact of the bubble. And then you hiccup. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Look it up. If you don't believe me, check this
I
out.
put Polybius as the worst game of all time, by the way. That's my pick for worst game of all. It literally is
Little
intended to
Rascals
damage
on
your
mine.
brain. So
and the game I'm looking forward to, we already know Cyberpunk is definitely on that list.
Yeah.
But Scott Pilgrim 10th Anniversary Edition,
Nice.
please play it. It's one of the best games I've ever played, and I tried to get people onto it, but by the time people started picking it up, PlayStation took it down. So it's literally a jewel. It's a jewel. And on that note, we're calling it. Thank you, Bloodsucking Gamers. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Bloodsucking Gamers. Follow us on Instagram at Bloodsucking Gamers. Follow us on YouTube at Bloodsucking Gamers. If you don't know where we are, we're Bloodsucking Gamers.
Bloodsucking Gamers.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you for listening, and be sure to check out the content. We'll be back next time.
Yeah.
later.